when you guys first started, because you guys were also doing the Jabberwocky faceless mask thing, were there a lot of comparisons to that crew? And like, how did it make you guys feel when you guys were trying to do your own thing and they were comparing you to somebody else?
Yeah, I have a totally unique relationship with that.
Yeah,
that's a great question, because I feel like a lot of people on the interwebs like to like do their thing, and personally I don't really care too much. People do what they do, you know what I'm saying? And you experience what you experience. But for me, I have a really unique relationship, because like, if none of my guys in the crew were ever a part of that organization, sure, it'd be like, oh man, we're trying to do our thing, right? But like, in my crew, there's...
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hola, everybody. Annyeonghaseyo. Ni hao. We have a very, very special guest. We have the very Kinjaz himself, Anthony motherfucking Lee.
Do people look to camera? Do people do that?
You can do whatever the fuck you want. This is a podcast, jackass.
I want to cross-eyed so I can like see both of y'all at the same time.
I haven't seen you in fucking forever.
It's been a long time, man. It's because, one, I was gone forever, so I wasn't doing JK. And by the time I came back this year, AK couldn't do anything but things like JK.
Yeah, bring the mic a little closer, dude.
You were already gone.
Yeah, that's right. I stopped doing JK News.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that was like the most regular that I would see you.
Yeah.
And then I was always sporadic because I was always out traveling or going to China or whatnot.
Oh, that's right. You're in, because you guys have you guys have a studio out there, right? Or you have multiple studios out there.
Yeah, we got 3 studios out in China. Everything got shut down during COVID, by the way. And now we're back. Yeah, they're open now, but they're like 20% capacity. So, things are a little bit tough. But other than that, because I couldn't travel anymore. So I was at home. So I finally hit up like, Bart, and was just like, yo, I'm actually here. Maybe I should like come through more often. Mm-hmm. So that's why I've been actually regularly doing JK News now.
That's dope.
But then you've been gone.
Yeah, I haven't been back. I stopped doing JK News probably, it's been almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
So I stopped doing JK News, like that platform. It was like a weird spot for me, because I think I've been doing it for so long. We did it for like 10 years, and it's not my company. So at the end of the day, for me, it was like, I wanted to do other things, and they already knew that, but it was a weird time for me to leave the company because there was nobody to fill my space. So there was like a good cast chemistry that we had. And then when Steve started coming in, that's when I was like, oh, I actually have an out.
You mean a big dude? A big dude who was like going to say whatever the fuck he wanted.
Exactly. There's somebody that needs to be there. And there was times that I would leave to do projects, whether I was on a show, and I would be gone like a month at a time, maybe 2-3 weeks at a time. And, like Tiff would text me. She goes, hey, like, we really need you back. Like, the chemistry was a little off. So I would come back, and, the show was real fun. But at the end of the day, I wanted to do other things.
You provide great chemistry on there, man. It's always fun to dance with you because you always give us something to talk about.
Yeah, I think that's what we needed that one person for,
yeah.
But then after I left, I think it's true. Once you leave, people have to adjust. So they adjusted perfectly fine. And Steve does a fucking great job. So I decided to leave. And then it was kind of weird for me because I had to figure out what my next step was. Because when you do stuff consistently, it just becomes, very comfortable.
Yeah.
And so you get really set into this comfort, and then you're like, okay, you're not thinking about next moves because what you have makes money, it's fun, you're hanging out with your friends all day, but then after a while, because you're so content in that, you don't really think about your next steps. So I was like, okay, if I cut this out, I have to think about my next steps. And so did the podcast.
That's fucking great. Cheers.
And right here, man. Cheers, dude.
That's what it is, man.
You going at it, dude. I feel that. You can fill that cup again.
Can you fill me up? Fuck, I'm all getting warm. I'm gonna take it.
Let's talk about you though, man.
Fuck me, dude.
We can make that happen too. But so for you, I mean, obviously you're a dancer, but I don't think I've ever gotten to know you in the sense of how you started in dance, where you grew up, or anything like that. So let's start from the bare bones, because I think people do want to get to know you. Number one, how did you even get into dancing in the first place?
Oh man. Okay, I got my cliche answer, and then I'll go into like the details that might be juicy and fun for conversation. Because I feel like I've gone over this story many times, but in many different platforms.
Yeah.
You do this in like a college seminar, then you do this on like an online talk show, and then you get into a podcast where you know that the person that you're talking to don't really give a fuck about just like regular shit, so you can kind of say like real shit. So I'm gonna embrace that unique portal. One, Michael Jackson, easy. Saw that shit on TV. This fool is fucking crazy. He's doing the illest things known to man. All you want to do is try to emulate him. His music's sick, easy peasy. But at the time, in my high school, if you were to dance, like, it was kind of gay. right?
Yeah.
That was literally the mentality. I remember the dance production at Sunny Hills High School. Shout out Sunny Hills. And there was all these chicks that were in the dance production. And there was one dude. This one dude was very, I'm not going to judge him, but he was very flamboyant.
Yeah.
So naturally, from a high school dumbass ignorant perspective, you're like, damn, I kind of want to dance, but if I do, everybody's going to think I'm gay. Right?
God, that's such a 90s mentality.
But that's exactly what it was.
You did anything in the arts in the early 90s, people just immediately assumed you like dick. That was it. He was like, he's dancing. He clearly likes penis.
And that's just how it was. So I avoided it.
Yeah.
I straight up avoided it. I picked up guitar, which was great. I tried to do other things, but I avoided it. I saw Filipinos crumping in the corner. And the only thing, because I didn't know anything about it, I would be like, haha, that's so weird. Because crumping was a brand new thing at the time.
Yeah.
But I didn't let myself get into it. Finally, I go to college. And then college, you suddenly see these giant dance teams. CADC was one of the first ones I saw. And you just see when you're an incoming freshman and you see college girls dancing, you're just like, I don't know anything about you, but you're fine.
Yeah.
I want to join that club.
Yeah.
And then you see dudes dancing next to them, but they're not necessarily dancing in what you had in your ignorant, naive stereotype of being gay, So at that time, you just see these college chicks and you're like, I have to join this club. So suddenly it changes. This is the bare bones version of what most people who get into dance that are dudes I guarantee you a lot of people always say the same journey behind closed doors. It's why did you first start dancing? To impress girls, period.
So when I had Ben on here, right?
Did he say the same thing?
I literally told him I hate it when I ask somebody about what they started doing their art for, but because I'm a dude and I know that era, you did it for pussy, 100%. I picked up a guitar for pussy. I sang for pussy, and dance. I know for a fact half the homies that danced did it because they wanted pussy. That's
Absolutely.
really what it was.
That's why when I started first, I started b-boying. I'm not even good, but why would you do it? It's the most flashy thing that was happening in the circles. What's the first thing you learn? Top rocks? No, windmills.
It's always a fucking windmill, dog. Shit.
And then what do? The first thing you go into a session, you don't warm up, you don't do any foundations, you have no culture. You go in there, you try to practice your windmills. You bruise yourself. You have windmill bruises right here. You got windmill burn right here. And then you kick the floor right here. There's always those hot spots. And then after that, you try to do freezes because freezes are impressive. So I spent the better half of my freshman year just learning these whack-ass non-foundational concepts of why I was trying to dance and the intention was off, but not realizing subconsciously that obviously I was falling in love with the craft at the same time.
Yeah.
Fast forward, right? It wasn't until Mike's song, right? We fucking met. Oh my God, this is going to be so... Oh, I don't know if this is actually out in any digital form somewhere. I'm gonna tell this story. It's hilarious. Okay, so we have this thing called SPOP, Student Parent Orientation Program. It's for incoming freshmen that go to UCI. So before you even start the schooling, you go into what was at the time a 3-day orientation program where a bunch of staff members who are actual members of the school, they walk you through not just a basic orientation of what's available, your options, what you can do, but also just give you a sense of social life, right?
Yeah.
So they even throw this fucking spot dance at the end of this 3-week thing, right? There's a spot dance. Everybody's trying to kind of be cool. These incoming freshmen and stuff like that. And then there's these circles. I like dance and sucked at it. I like dance and sucked. I'm getting all nervous talking about this story. This is so fucking funny. Let me drink some more.
Okay.
I fucking... So I go into this circle because the music's playing. I think it's Get Your Walk On by Exhibit.
Okay. Okay.
So naturally, you see this shit in the music video. So I start trying to sea walk. This is when cultural appropriation, just noob mentality is just fully 100% out there. And then suddenly this dude taps me on the shoulder ferociously. I turn around, this angry looking Korean face is staring at me. He's going, bow, boo, bow, boo. Yeah. And this is, lo and behold, this is Mike's song. And I've never fucking battled anybody in my life.
Oh, shit.
Ever. I've just only seen the concept of these things. All I know is that no matter what, even if you suck at dance, you just don't give up. You go strong. That was my mentality. So I'm going back at him. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't dance. He's obviously probably whipping my ass, but there's this moment where his shoe falls off mid-dance, mid-round. His shoe fucking falls off, right? I don't know battle culture. I don't think in my mind naturally, let me pick up this prop and use it against him.
You have to pick up the shoe and use it as a telephone like everybody did.
Exactly. But I didn't have that in my mind. So I only had in my intention, let me pick up the shoe and give it back to him.
Oh, no.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
But he had in his mind, this fool's going to use my prop against me. So Angry Mike's on Korean face comes over as I'm bending to pick it up, and he kicks his own shoe out the circle. And I'm fucking confused.
It's like, why would you do such a thing?
Because I'm like, I was gonna give it back. And who kicks their own shoe?
Like, you ain't gonna use the shit on me, bitch. Bow, Korean forever. Bow, bitch.
Yeah. So that was literally the first time I ever met Mike Song. It was the most like powerful human experience for like a non-dancer like myself to just get like fucking battled by Mike, and he kicks his shoe away. So my confusion just like left with me that day, and that was just how it is.
That's fucking hilarious. You know, that dance battle culture is so interesting because it's weird how in the 90s when or 90s or early 2000s more for us, like when people saw dance, they had a couple of perceptions of it, right? It was number one, if you danced, you're like this weak ass, quote unquote, what they used to say back in the day, gay dude. But how it originated was gang member shit. You know what I mean? And so they would express themselves through dance instead of fucking fighting and killing each other, and, you know, which was a really positive outlet. But it's weird how that shifts constantly, right? And it went from that, and now how dance has transformed. Now literally everybody's dancing. Like it's kind of weird when I see some of these younger kids and how good they are.
Dance is like the new jogging.
Yeah.
You remember how jogging back in the day with jogging, like Phil Knight wrote this in Nike. Maybe it was Bill Bowerman. Anyways, point is, back in the day, like if you were running down the street, you had to be in an emergency. Like only insane people were running for recreation. But there was this like transcendent period where a bunch of like athletes, right, who were like running full time, suddenly they like stopped putting their body through such physical conditioning. So when they got old, there actually would have repercussions to that. So then there was the invention of jogging. And suddenly everybody who like, you know, needed to just kind of run, but not with intention to like get somewhere A to B, but just to do it for exercise, this thing got birthed. And then literally like a hive mentality of human beings throughout the world, suddenly jogging existed. I feel like we're in this really weird time where dancing is kind of like that. Because if you think about it, like nowadays, I go down the street and I'll randomly see like every type of person shooting like a TikTok video. Yeah. They'll just post their phone up. They'll be at like the Target. They'll be at like this place. They'll be at, in every human being condition, there's some sort of ability to like do some sort of TikTok dance. You know what I'm saying? And it's like suddenly all these people who have no idea what dance really is have this weird digital foundation. No knowledge, but totally a culture. You know what I'm saying?
It's almost odd now where if you don't know how to dance, you are the odd person out. Because before it was like, oh, these people don't dance, they don't dance. But if you don't know how to do a certain popular dance that
like the shoot?
Yeah.
If you don't know how to do the shoot, if you don't know how to do fucking Backpack Kids, you know what I'm saying? It's like you're the weird guy.
Exactly. So when I see how much it's evolved, like it kind of blows my mind. Like I just... TikTok was one of those platforms too that really took that common person dance and made it really accessible to everybody, right? Anybody can be popular through dance now. And I think like the weird part, I had a conversation with some other dancers recently where they kind of hate and they love it. They hate the fact that they love the fact that, you know, dance is becoming more accessible. People can see a viable future in dance, like in terms of a career and making money. But at the same time, they have this little small part of them is like, I do dance courses, classes, I'm traditionally trained, and no matter what I do, these kids who just do this one TikTok video, they'll book more gigs, they'll have a lot more notoriety than me, even though I am a better fucking dancer.
Well, it's different, right? Like for those professional dancers to give themselves some sort of concept of mental health, I guess. It's like those people are getting jobs opportunities or being booked for like a totally different reason. It's not for them to like showcase art or to like educate on the culture. It's to influence a mass group of people.
A younger group of people, yeah.
Period. You know what I'm saying? Which is, there's nothing wrong with that. That's sick. Yeah. If I was so popular, that'd be great.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
But from like a dancer's point of view, maybe I'm optimistic. I feel like there's this singularity moment that's like coming up. It's like that moment where enough of the world through things like TikTok suddenly have enough of a foundation of movement and enough of an understanding of things where it's like you realize what it takes to suddenly be pro and then you're like, oh shit. And then you recognize people who are pro, and then you're like, oh, that's the difference. Because right now, the way that I see it, people who are fucking professional dancers or choreographers, people in my crew, people like whatever, everybody's at such an advanced level that the mass general earth human being population, like, it goes over their head.
Right over their head, yeah.
It's right over their head. You can tone down 50%, and maybe that's when it gets translatable, digestible.
Yeah.
Then you can be like, oh, that's the catchy K-pop move. That's the whatever, right?
Yeah.
So like conceptually, talent-wise, we're already way the fuck above the mass general population. Mm-hmm. Therefore, once that general population suddenly comes to a certain place where like they've got enough TikTok dances in them that they're like, all right, well, what does it take to be even better? They're gonna recognize better and be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And that's I believe optimistically in those moments, that's when you're gonna start seeing things like dance on ESPN, dance ambassadors getting sponsorships with major athletic footwear companies or whatever. Dance spots on TV, not because it's just selling a brand, but rather selling the culture itself. Yeah. Even the way that the US looks at different sports, they can potentially look at dance in that way. You know what I'm saying?
Like the whole dance competition phase was nuts to me. Just watching like the onslaught of ABDC and how that had a ripple effect on everybody else.
That was huge.
It was such a huge moment, specifically for Asian Americans too, because I remember watching that and people saying, yo, Asian people can dance. And I'm like,
dance level Asian was the trending Twitter concept at the time.
Yeah. I was like, yo, that's nuts. That I think it's because I grew up around such a lot of Asian people that did dance. They were B-boys, and then we had in our high school, we had a group called Masterpiece. That's where Phil came out of, Phil Tayag from Jabbawockeez and all these other people. So dancing to Asian people dancing wasn't a foreign concept. But I sometimes forget that we live in a bubble.
Yes, televised.
Yeah.
In America, that was a foreign concept because at that time, you only had like 2 Asian dudes that were really killing the industry. It was like JD McElroy and Harry Shum Jr.
Yeah.
Like straight up. You'd be like, who's that Asian guy? And you got served. Like,
yeah. Unless you were watching fucking, what's it called? Battle of the Year, right? Then you had Bionic on there.
But by that point, you were already paying attention. You were in the dance culture.
Yeah.
We're talking about like mass media. We're talking about influencing people at a way that like the way that basketball influences people. You know what I'm saying?
Did you used to watch that show? What's it called? Dance 360?
Absolutely. Ben was on it.
Oh, was he?
You don't fucking remember Ben?
I don't remember Ben being on that shit.
Ben Chung was on it. That was you talking about like tag your man.
Yeah.
Tag your man, right?
Yeah.
Yo, that shit was so fun to watch. I remember watching it on my little tube TV in my parents' room. It was like our TV was this big.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, that's Ben Chung.
That's
that
fucking nuts.
So sick.
Yeah, those are like those small little glimpses where I saw people seeing how marketable dance can be, right? And then when Jabbawockeez won ABDC, all these other dance shows started popping up. They're like, yo, this is a really great concept. People love dance. People love seeing this shit.
Absolutely.
And it's an art form too that I feel like a lot of people can appreciate it without having to actually do it. Yeah. I think sports can be sometimes a little polarizing because like if you don't get it, you don't get it. But with dance, I feel like culturally it's so embedded in everybody's culture. Anybody can appreciate dance. Everybody's culture has some sort of dance that they did. Even when you see little kids when they're younger, they just start dancing for no fucking reason. Yeah. So when people can see that on a big stage, it translates. It's entertaining no matter what. That's why you could go to Vegas, you go to Cirque du Soleil, you go to any of these shows. Yeah. You see somebody dance, it connects to you somehow.
And I honestly thank God for the Jabbawockeez during their time. You know what I mean? Like maybe I would say the generation right before was like the Electric Boogaloos, right? Because they also had a show in Vegas, and all the EBs were like living out there doing like Vegas shows and whatnot. But the thing is, we didn't have things like social media or like mass market TV shows like ABDC or anything at the time. So like the way for dance to really transcend and connect with a lot of people, like they could do that with things like Soul Train more than maybe like the Vegas shows back then because we didn't have a way to share that. Yeah. And luckily, like our generation had people like the Jabbawockeez who could even take like the Faceless brand so that anybody from all walks of life could appreciate what they were doing in terms of just dance.
That shit was so next level, man.
Absolutely. It still is. It's one of the greatest brands in the world, in my personal opinion. You know what I'm saying?
It's weird because like when I see some of that stuff, because I grew up with Phil, right? So we grew up in Sacramento together. Like one of his closest friends is my manager, Abe. And just watching that, and I see when Phil was dancing, like nobody really did what he was doing. You know what I mean? And I think like Phil, and then obviously a lot of the members, they were like innovators. So from what I saw from when I was a kid, and then I see like little glimpses of what they do everywhere now. and it's odd. I'm like, oh shit, because I would have never thought that they would have had such an influence on just group dancing in general, and specifically in choreography when it came to hip hop choreography, right? And obviously people have taken what they've done and they've leveled it up in their own way. And now you see just an evolution in dance. And it's weird because I saw that when I was a little kid, just watching them do what they do, right? And I think that's like the beauty of what social media has done. It's allowed people to access something they didn't have access to before. Like the other day, I saw this clip of this dude in Africa just doing a show like in his village. And this motherfucker got air flares. He's doing fucking chair flares, all this weird next level shit that person would have never seen if it wasn't for like social media and YouTube and the internet. And now he's doing something in his own way that he adapted from what he saw online. It's fucking nuts.
Dude, there's a lot of what's the almost least sensitive way to say it? No, I'm just kidding. There's a lot of, for example, like OGs, you know what I mean? People that like really totally paved the way for the culture, but didn't necessarily get to capitalize on like social media at its boom. Yeah. And they're like fathers and like mothers, like parents, you know, and they're not really about like, let me get my social media on and stuff like that. And so there's like such a discrepancy from like the now millions of people probably around the world that have like been educated through digital social media, like within a finger's reach of like searching for content and not necessarily like digesting like the culture, the history, the intention, the purpose, the social and civil rights movements for which these cultures were birthed, the name and the vernacular for which to respect the culture and how to categorize things. Now it's just a melting pot of shit people get inspired by on the internet as fast as they can receive content. And now we're suddenly in this like the people that are the forefathers and truly the founding fathers of the culture almost have like no grip and grasp on how big of something that they've like cultivated. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There's this huge divide now. And so like we're just in the middle of this really unique generation where like it's like a virus, right? The way social media is. Dance has just gone so fucking far out now that people are doing things like, remember the Harlem Shake? Yeah. Remember when they fucking renamed the Harlem Shake? Yeah. Everybody had a Harlem Shake. And then it just suddenly turned into go ape shit in costumes in random in places around the world. Yeah. And whoever goes the most ape shit from the most like that's the Harlem Shake. And that's just it. The whole world knows that now. Yeah. And still only the dancers who knew the Harlem Shake for what it was know the Harlem Shake for what it is. Yeah. That's it.
It's crazy just how that information transfers, and sometimes it dilutes, but
totally dilutes.
It's fucking crazy, like the origin to where things go from now. And I was watching a couple of clips just the other day of it was like this comparison of a lot of b-boy moves that were from like back in the day.
Yeah, before like hip hop was even born, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So they studied that from this form of dance and they adapted into hip hop culture. And I would have never fucking known if it wasn't for that video. I'm like, how the fuck is that even a thing? You know, because I thought it originated from somebody who created that from just the b-boy perspective in general.
Well, to be fair, there's also the thematic that like it is possible and practical for two people to come up with the exact same thing without influence of each other at the same time. Yeah. It's very possible. You can't have like 7+ billion people in the world. And not have people do. So like even the way that this is a fucked up concept to talk about, even the way that history is recorded, as we can even see in terms of like, you know, the light of like our even national history, you know what I'm saying? How things are being brought to light in different perspectives and the propaganda and the way that things are blah, 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 right? History in general is always recorded to the loudest microphone with the most followers. Right? Like that's like the real truth, right? There's real truth, and then there's this person who has like billions of followers, and then they say what their truth is, and then that becomes historically most referenced or truth.
That happens a lot with stand-up too. So like a stand-up comic,
I can only imagine.
They'll make a joke, and it's happened to me before too, where I've literally made a joke on stage and like, oh, that's somebody else's joke. I'm like, how is that somebody else's joke when that's a story about my personal life? Like how? But it's just there's parallels, right? Like if you're an Asian American and you make a joke about your Asian American parents, there's probably another Asian American comic that'll have a joke that's very similar in that sense. You know, I think the leeway between that is how it's delivered. So if the delivery is different, you could usually tell when it's not. But sometimes even for me, when I would make a joke, I would just be like, fuck it, I'll trash that joke then. Like if you're that stuck on it, you're saying that it's your joke, which it wasn't that great of a joke in the first place, I'll trash it.
Because your intention isn't to fucking give negative vibes or weird shit.
Exactly.
Your intention is go out there, share your personal experience and really entertain people, right?
Yeah, and I've seen jokes too that Bobby Lee has done. Obviously, he did it before me. He's older. And when I wrote a joke, I thought it was like a really fun, original idea. But he had one that was, I say, like 70% similar. And I'm like, I'm trashing this joke. Like, he already did it better. So what's the whole point? It's because he's a Korean American and he grew up just like me. So it's very similar stories. So I just had to be, whatever.
I could only assume that that's got to be a theme.
Yeah.
In every industry.
It has to be,
Music, architecture, fashion, like whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's got to be a theme. Which is why it's like, I think perspective on how you choose to like receive or experience that theme dictates a lot about either who you are as a person or like how you're going to walk your life. You know what I'm saying? Like we can be called, for example, like biters, or like maybe we can like have copied or gotten inspiration from people. And then in retrospect, other people also totally bite us and pull inspiration from us. That's like one life to live. I'm like, I am a biter and I have been bitten.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then another perspective to live is like, this is what cultural influence looks like.
For sure. I mean, I think I'm starting to understand too, especially in how this space works now. It's going to happen a lot faster and a lot more frequent. It's very easy for people to become popular off of things. So if somebody is craving attention and popularity, they're going to go ahead and bite the thing that they know is going to get them there, because they don't have the ability to create something like that themselves.
Some people, yes.
Yeah. So it's just going to happen, right? I think a majority of people, when we talk about a pool of talent, there's a reason why people who are innovators and who are really, really talented, that's like 2% of this world. The other 98%, they don't really have that. And you'll see that a lot in this creative space, because they'll do that one trick that they stole from somebody else and people get tired of it. You have to do a new one and they're fresh out. It's because you already stole something once and now you have to steal something else. So, but now I've gotten to understand where it's just like, you know what? This is what it is. This podcast is brought to you by Skillshare. If you have a hobby, a side hustle, or a passion that you want to get into, but you don't know where to start, you need to sign up to Skillshare. One of the things I hate is hunting for information all over the place because you don't know where to start. So why do that? The more time you spend doing that BS, the less time you have to get your learn on. It's a waste. Skillshare has all the courses and info you need in one place. No more hunting through YouTube for hours looking for quick lessons. Skillshare has a community of millions where you can learn from. Get started on your passions and your side hustles, baby. Look, right now, I am taking the productivity masterclass because your boy is trash when it comes to utilizing my time. I suck at it, and this course has definitely helped me realize how much time I waste on some BS. So explore your creativity at Skillshare.com/GB, and the first 1,000 people to use our link will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. Receive free access to thousands of classes for a limited time. Be one of the first 1,000 to sign up at Skillshare.com/GB. They literally repurpose one of Bart and Joe's jokes or sketches. But then I've understood now, it's like, well, we put this out and it influenced somebody. So who are we to say?
Yeah, and that's never going to not happen for the rest of eternity, considering the way that human experience is now like able to be like so quickly accessible through like
and it's perfectly fine
right?
too. Like that's what we did it for anyways, right? We wanted people to find it funny. We wanted to be relatable. Yeah. And if they thought about recycling that joke and it works for them, it is what it is. I just have to be better and think of something else.
Hey, people are like, this is something that, I'm fucking loving this conversation, by the way, because this is something I also am coming to terms with maturing my understanding on at the same time, because we have to deal with this shit in the idea of artistry and even the artistic path, like what it means to like build a career chasing what you love. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no two roads that are the same way, but at the same time, if the person before you is doing an uncharted road and then you are doing a different but uncharted road, both of you are doing uncharted roads. Now you're doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So there's always going to be parallels in like the experience and the journey. And in today's world, really coming to terms with the idea that like you might try something, you might put something out, somebody else is maybe going to get way more successful for doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That's normal because maybe you got to also count the times that somebody else tried exactly what you're doing and you got success off of it.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact there's people that are trying to do what I'm doing and I'm way better at it. And at the same time, I'm trying to do what other people are doing and they're way better at it. It's normal. It's always going to happen. And I think like people just being okay with that or understanding that earlier makes the journey way just more fun. It's not going to change shit it's outside of your perception, right?
I mean, it's a huge ego thing that I see with a lot of people who are already established, right? And this is like me having a conversation with myself too, because a lot of the times too, and I used to do this like when I was way younger, I used to feel that somebody else's success took away from my own. So if I'm doing something that I feel that I technically am better at, that I should be recognized for, when I see somebody else successful, there was this little part of me when I was younger that was like, you don't deserve that, I deserve that.
That's hella real. Yes.
You know,
that's hella real.
You try to bring somebody else down so they can be at your level, you know, and then it makes you feel better. And I see that a lot. This can go even deeper in friendships. Like, have you ever had a situation when you were growing up and then you had a friend who you knew somebody who, when you started popping off or whatever, right? And they had a conversation like, oh, Anthony's changed or Anthony's done this and that. It's like, no, I'm growing. You just chose not to come with me. But a lot of the times, even with certain people who don't wish well on your success, they only feel happy for you when you're at the same level as them. Unless we're here and we're peers in our career, our money, everything else, then you and I can't be friends because now you're quote unquote better than me. And that's what happens in a lot of artistry too. You're okay with that other kid praising you, saying you're dope, but once that kid who praises you gets better than you, then you're like, what the fuck? Like, why do you praise him? I'm the one that taught him how to do this shit. And that's that ego thing that a lot of us have trouble with because we want to bring somebody down instead of really congratulating them because we're trying to protect ourselves. You know?
Absolutely. And I'll be, you know, easier to say in your 30s, but I'll definitely be quick to admit, like, I have an ego. You know what I mean? I still have an ego. I still have like little ass insecurities that turn into grown man action that like really is something that like later on I'm gonna have slight remorse over. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like that's the human experience, and being able to even accept that about yourself is like something that like people should be okay with doing so that they can check themselves quicker is all. You know what I'm saying? Like,
we're gonna slip up all the time too. Hey, tilt your mic a little more down towards your mouth. Tilt it. Yeah.
Hey yo.
Yeah. I mean, that's like some shit that I always have to like remind myself of. I don't do it. I don't think I do it anymore. But when I was younger, it was a big problem. Like even like when I got into YouTube, right? When I first started doing YouTube, I was a stand-up comic first. So when people would refer to me as a YouTuber, it used to fucking make me mad. It would make me livid. And it wasn't an insult. Most of the time it wasn't. Comics would use that as an insult towards me when I was younger. When I first started doing this is like 10 11
I'm all
years
feeling
ago.
guilty because I'm like, you was a YouTuber.
Yeah, so like, right? So it's like when I started doing this, it was like I was doing stand-up since I was 16 years old. So when I started doing YouTube, I was like, 24. So I've already put in so much work in. And I told the story on the podcast, but I remember when I did this event, it was a stand-up comedy show. And they asked me to do stand-up. And I think the reason why they invited me out to do stand-up was they wanted to see me bomb. Right? Because I'm a YouTuber and you don't see YouTubers do stand-up.
Yeah,
because at the time people thought, well, YouTube comedy isn't real comedy. It's this other realm. You get to do jump cuts. Let's see how well you do on a stage. And so what they kind of put me out for, what I kind of realized after looking at everything and kind of like the behavior that they had towards me. And it was that, they wanted to see me bomb. But what they didn't know, I've been doing stand-up at that point for 8 years, starting since I was 16. So I'm like, this is not an uncomfortable stage for me, but you don't know that. And so when they put out the flyer, it said X name stand-up comic, X name stand-up comic. And I was one of the headliners and they didn't put stand-up comic, they put YouTuber. And I'm like, that's very weird and very intentional, you know? But they had me out there to be a stand-up comic. And so when I went out there, I fucking smashed. I killed it. But then afterwards they respected me, but they had the intent of trying to take something from me because it was that same thing of their ego of like, I've been a stand-up comic for 10 plus years. This kid did YouTube, the one fucking famous YouTube video. Why does he get to be more popular and get to headline this event when I've been doing stand-up longer? I should be known for more. So even like the older generation had to deal with their ego when YouTubers started coming in, but they weren't quick enough to work on this platform and utilize it to their advantage because they didn't know. I started in stand-up. I just decided to use this platform for my stand-up. They just didn't know that background for it.
It's just so ironic because like, I could totally share similar themes with that like upbringing of like what it is that got us to where we are. But it's so funny now to at least be old enough to recognize it happening again because it cycles, right?
Yeah.
Now there's kids dancing on TikTok. They got like 30 million followers, and they don't like dance. They just like dance.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I looked at it and I'm like, well, I missed the ball. Like it, I can't
Like,
say shit.
Yeah.
You know, I like try to do TikTok videos, and I'm like, it ain't me. Like I'm gonna miss this one, even though I know it's supposed to be good. You should, but like, fuck off. Like you do what you want to do. You know.
I did one TikTok.
That shit's hella funny.
The first TikTok I put up, it got taken down for a fucking sexual misconduct, and it was just me shirtless. I was like, man, fuck this shit.
Wait.
It's because I'm making fun of people, right? But
Okay.
I don't know why, but it said it was inappropriate, like adult content.
I want to see
like,
this video right now.
And so you can.
I want to see this softcore porn.
So I wrote the you're supposed to petition to have it to put it back up, and I was like, you guys are all fat shamers. I was like, I'm a man with male breast. You need to put my video back up.
Oh my god,
it still hasn't been up. So I've given up on TikTok after one video. They don't want me on any platform. Instagram has taken down so much of my shit. I'm like, oh, this is weird. That's why I like podcasts. I can say whatever the fuck I want.
This is true. But like, it's cyclical. It's always gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I imagine you go back in time, and fucking the first time they had like the printing press. And then somebody finally got their name.
Y'all motherfuckers read?
You know what I mean? Like,
we tell stories by fire, cuz.
Yeah. Imagine the first like tailor who got his advertisement, right, in the printing press for the first time, and suddenly like he had business. But then like the generation before him who like invented this version of tailoring was like, what the fuck? Like you want the source, you come here. This person jacked my. That's gonna happen with the next app. After TikTok, there's going to be something else that's going to change the game. And then, like, you know, that's just how it is, the human experience. So, like, forever, whoever's out there, including myself, I think is who we're talking to.
I think the hard part for me now
is time, man.
It's just trying to make sure that I don't stay content, right? And for me personally, I've already achieved more than I thought I was going to achieve. So now everything is a bonus. So now I'm always looking for, like, next step challenges. So if somebody asked me right now, like, just straight up, they go, what more would you like to accomplish?
Hey, what more would you like to accomplish?
Nothing, really. I'm perfect. I'm fucking goddamn perfect.
The thing is, you don't want to be content. What else you want to do? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing, dude.
Hey, let's fill this back up, though.
Oh, yes, sir. Like, I wanted to do a film. I got to do a film. I wanted to do a podcast. I did a podcast.
Oh, which, by the way, was it called Gook?
Yeah.
I watched that whole film. That was a good film.
Thank you, man.
You were a good ass asshole / great friend at the same time.
Perfect. Yeah, that was like one of those things I got to accomplish. I wanted to do food things, be in the food scene. We franchised the matcha thing. So it's like that list of personal wants is slowly going away. And now I'm at a point where I just want to live happy. So it's weird because monetary gains isn't a huge like motivating factor for me.
Yeah, it's simply a necessity.
Yeah, it's like it's a means to an end for me. So if somebody asks me like, don't you want to make a gajillion dollars? And I've actually tried that once where I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna try and make as much money as possible, see if that makes me happy. And I accumulated a lot of like financial wealth, but then I was miserable. I'm like, this did nothing for me. It literally did nothing for me. It's because I grew up with nothing. So it's like I grew up with very minimal shit. Like we grew up really fucking poor. So I was very happy then. So my measurement of happiness had nothing to do with money. And so, but you know, when you're poor, you want to buy the shit that you wanted when you were younger.
You want to buy the shit that all your friends have.
Exactly. So I got every fucking Jordan you could imagine. You know what I mean? That's when I copped the Tesla. I didn't need the Tesla. Like I didn't have to have that car at all, which was a dumb purchase at the time because that car was like damn near $1,500 a month, you know? And so I spent that, I got all the shoes, I got everything. And I'm like, damn, this shit is novel. Like I enjoyed it for a second. And then that happiness went away. Like I say in like the next month, a week, maybe 2 weeks, who the fuck knows? And so I made this shift where I'm like, okay, let's try to invest in stuff that you personally enjoy instead of these physical things.
Which is what for you?
I think it's just literally doing whatever the fuck I want. It's literally whatever the fuck I want. The podcast wasn't a financially viable choice at the time. It just turned out to be better than I thought it would be. You know, I lost 500,000 subscribers when I started this podcast. So, you know, from the outside looking in, it's like you just made a dumb choice. But it made me happy. I'm like, I enjoy doing this. So I'm going to have to pursue stuff that's going to make me happy longevity wise. And then even for the food thing, right? I wanted to try food. So I said, fuck it. Let me go ahead and invest into this soft serve business and see what I can do with it.
Which is where I'm at right now, baby.
So, you know, all this stuff too, it all happens through age and time. Like I would have never figured this out when I was younger.
Yeah, there's no fucking way you would have been like, yeah, I'm gonna do a matcha franchise when I'm in my 30s.
Yeah,
and
absolutely
you're like
not.
at high school. They're like, which college you want to go to? I want to start a podcast. And I want to do 10 years with JK News. And
yeah. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to start kickboxing. Let me try kickboxing for a second. Let me see how much I enjoy it. And I fucking love it. Now I'm getting punched in the face every fucking week. So there's, a lot of the younger viewers too, they always ask like, how are you so solid in knowing what you want to do? Who the fuck said that? Who the fuck ever told you that I knew what the fuck I'm doing?
Yeah, nobody knows.
Yo, I'm just as lost as you. I just don't complain as much as you. I just don't whine as much as you. I accept the chaos. Chaos is life. I accept it. Now, once you accept the chaos, things start to become easier to understand, because now when bad things happen, that's just life. That's
just normal.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Like the other day, look, let me tell you this. So my dog got stolen from me this month, right? And I had to get my dog back.
I saw that. Yeah.
My bike got jacked actually a couple days ago, which I just spent an absorbent amount of money on. It got stolen. And then one of my friends was in the car with me. They're like, you're taking this pretty calmly. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? This is life. Like shit like this is going to happen all the time. I was like, how would you react? They're like, I'd probably be pissed. I'd be fucking angry. I'm like, but that's a waste of my time. I might be angry for moments and glimpses and I do it for humor. But when I'm angry, it's quick, it's fast, and I'm done with it because I don't have time to deal with this shit. I'm too old for this stuff. Like once you start to realize how finite time is, you really start to focus where you use your time and where do you utilize it. Because if I'm gonna use it just worrying about shit that I can't control, the bike is fucking gone. If I see that guy in the middle of the street, yeah, I'll break his kneecaps. But I have to see him first, so I'll just wait for that day.
Yeah, and you have to be in a car at least.
Yeah, so I can catch him. Yeah. If I see him and I'm standing, he's just gonna go by me and give me the finger. Yeah. That's my bike. he just got off on the distance.
You motherfucker.
Yeah. What was that? That's all he hears, dude. Oh, I have a question for you, actually.
Oh.
I like watching dance videos. Like it's just like I don't watch it as much as I used to, but
make sure you subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe to Kinjaz. I actually haven't. I just watch the videos and I thumbs down every video.
Yeah, I'll figure.
But for you guys, when you guys first started, because you guys were also doing the Jabbawockeez faceless mask thing, were there a lot of comparisons to that crew? And like, how did it make you guys feel when you guys were trying to do your own thing and they were comparing you to somebody else?
Yeah. I have a totally unique relationship with that.
Yeah,
that's a great question because I feel like a lot of people on the interwebs like to do their thing, and personally, I don't really care too much. People do what they do, you know what I'm saying? And you experience what you experience. But for me, I have a really unique relationship because if none of my guys in the crew were ever a part of that organization, sure, it'd be like, oh man, we're trying to do our thing, right? But in my crew, there's Ben Chung and Tony Tran who are
they were Jabbawockeez.
Yeah. And then on top of that, it's even before that, Mike Song and Ving and Lyle and all these guys that they were dancing in the Muse IC show back in the day, even for a short period of time, but they were a part of it. Even on top of that, in my company, there's guys like Lee J, who is also part of their company and is now part of our company. And, I love all the guys out there. I've taken classes from Kevin Brewer. He's one of my idols from when I was younger, straight up when I was starting dance, KB was one of my straight up idols, and he's been a mentor to guys like Ving. And obviously Fee is my bro, he's just the dude, he's the homie. And then all the super cool guys that are also a part of the shows, they're all fammed us. We were on the shows with them on NBC and everything like that. So it's we're too connected for me to have anything but just genuine, I hope they're as successful as possible.
Yeah.
They paved the way for a lot of people. We've been constantly inspired by them. They've done things and broken barriers that if people compare us, my first initial reaction is actual flattery. You even want to put me in the category with Jabbawockeez? Thank you.
Yeah. Oh really? That's
sure.
Great. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if you want to say oh, you guys are botters because you guys wear masks, then
Well, everybody wear masks now. It's COVID, baby.
Yeah, I don't have like too many arguments because it really just comes down to like what the beef is or their beef is or what they want from the situation, like what they want confronted from it. You know, like at the end, like you said, there was one point where we were wearing our masks and then it's like, oh, you guys are like, you know, maybe like biting or whatever, similar. And now everyone in the world wears the same masks as us. Yeah. People don't wear Jabbawockeez masks out in COVID season. They wear masks like us.
Fucking ridiculous.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just, I don't know. Like, where does the conversation go? I have inspiration and I get fueled by it, period. Yeah. And if you give me something that's going to give me inspiration, even if it's fuel, to just challenge the fact that it's like, all right, you want to put me in the same category, then let me figure out how to best myself. Yeah. Let me figure out how to be more different. Let me figure out how to, it's only been inspiration and fuel. So like, I could easily be on a record with no ego and say, I thank the Jabbawockeez. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? For like everything they've done for our community and culture. And for me personally, I've gotten nothing but inspiration and a lot of homies from that crew.
Yeah.
But I think what you want to hear is, let's battle. Let's
that's what a lot of, I mean,
duke it out. You know what I'm saying? Because that would be fun.
Yeah.
Not because it has to say anything about life.
I mean, you guys are so, I mean, I think like stylistically, you guys are so different though. It's like apples and oranges to me. Especially like the choreography is just so different and kind of like what they do. I think you guys obviously, I mean, everybody influences each other, right? But at the end of the day, like when I look at your guys' just first of all branding and everything else, you guys are actually very, very fucking different. It's very, very different
because you pay attention and you understand things. You know what I'm saying? People that like don't like really focus, they maybe see whatever they want to see. And to be honest, I'm still thankful for that. Whatever fucking experience anybody has, great. Yeah, you know, Jabba's fucking dope, and I think our crew's fucking dope too. So like whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of like really just being honest with yourself. Yeah. I'm totally inspired by them. Yeah. Totally. But I also know that we totally have done many things that they also have never done respectfully. Yeah. So it's like,
he said, fuck you, Jabbawockeez. It was respectful for a second. That's what I was waiting for. No, I'm kidding. Yo, respectfully, fuck them.
They're the truth. They will always be inspiration points. You know, even the cats on their next gen, fucking dope.
Like, that kid TJ,
all of them,
Sacramento kid, man, all those kids,
all the Art of Technique kids that are there too. You know, the UGF kids.
I have a video with those kids when they were super fucking young. I think they were like 6 years old, like back in the day, because they're from Sacramento,
and they were nasty back then.
Exactly,
like beyond nasty, like ahead of their time nasty, and here they are in their time still nasty. Like, I got nothing other than. I'm looking at this fucking photo of Jordan right here. Compared to the concept of franchises in a global organization that is unofficial. Yeah. The best franchises push you. Yeah. Weak teams, you know what I mean? They exist.
Who kind of came, so I remember talking to Mike. I think we both did a show together or something. I forgot what it was, but I had a conversation with him backstage, and this is before Kinjaz started. And he was having the conversation about, you know, starting this group with the whole mask thing, and it started with your guys' Ambu Black Ops thing, right?
Which we didn't wear masks. So yeah. I think people have to also understand, like, the mask is not our thing. Yeah. As you could tell, if you subscribed. 90% of our dance videos don't have masks on. We're just a group of people, artists, brothers, homies, whatever the fuck you want to call it. We're just a group of people. Yeah. And we just do shit. On TV, we wear different variations of masks. And then always in our last episode, what we get kicked off is like when we're unmasked. Nobody wants to fucking see Asian people. I guess that's the thing. You know?
You guys should just take off the mask and you have your fucking eyes taped back.
We don't have to tape it back. You already know we look like that.
No, we want them more. I want them straight lines.
The point is, the mask is not our thing, no matter what people want to say what it is. I think our thing is just, this is going to be fucking cheesy, but we just want to experience shit. And at the same time, there's definitely a sub-theme of elevating what it means to be an Asian American, what it means to be an Asian in America, we don't have only Asians in our crew. We got a black guy. We got
a single black guy.
It is what it is. Shout out Phil Garvin. You know, we got 2 white guys currently. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's in the crew. Our organization, which has like a clothing company, a record label, you know, a noodle company, or this or that. Like, there's an eclectic group of human beings. So it just really comes down to like whatever it is that the public out there wants to just like build passion off of. I'm down for it.
I feel like you guys are so fucking positive, man. I just, one of the funniest things I used to always hear about is like dancer beef, and that shit used to crack me the fuck up.
Dancer beef is hilarious to me.
Dancer beef is so fucking funny because it reminds me of it's like an actor going on stage, right? Like he's performing and his character is the villain, and then there's another actor, his character is the hero, right? But then afterwards, the hero, after the acting is done and the camera's off, they go and he beats the other person's ass. And it's like, hold on, I'm an actor. I'm playing a villain. Don't beat me up. I didn't actually try to blow up the world. You know what I mean? And so when I see these dancers, they start dancing and it's intense. You're on a dance floor, right? It's competitive. And then afterwards, they still hate them. It's like, oh, leave it there. This is what it was for.
Yeah, but even if there's still hatred, the farthest it goes is still to like some fucking cipher somewhere. That to me is the most beautiful thing about our culture. We're all pillow soft, sensitive gangsters. Doesn't matter how hard you are. Doesn't matter what kind of songs you dance to, how many chains you rock, or like who's in your crew, whatever. At the end of the day, you gotta like dish out your beef with somebody. You're still gonna be like, I hope it's a good DJ. I hope he drops the right tracks, you know what I'm saying? He's not biased and shit. Like, that's the farthest it goes.
Yeah.
If everyone in the fucking world, every fucking major nation, or like the World Health Organization, to CDC, to like fucking the Interpol, everybody who's in the UN, like, it was a dancer and had to handle their squabbles through dance, this would be the fucking funniest utopian society ever in the galaxy.
Before they fight, they have to stretch for 30 minutes. Like, hold on a second. Before I beat your ass at this dance circle, let me do my yoga real quick, bitch.
They're just like, hey, you know what? Like, you guys got to duke it out. You guys got a situation. And it's like, hey, we're going to bring in this DJ. You're like, oh, fuck this DJ, man. He always favors this social group. That would be the most difficult thing you'd endure, because dancers handle their shit. And it's funny, too. It's like, even if you don't like the person, if you get into a battle with them, at the end of the battle, you're still going to be like,
that shit was tight.
Yeah, you know, like we did that. You're like, nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
Everybody's inspired.
Yeah. They're going to write a whole inspirational post on their Instagram about it after. I was pushed to my limits. I never thought I'd be pushed to these limits before. He brought a beast out of me.
People get into real beef on the street. Somebody goes home, maybe with like a broken jaw. Here, there's like a panel of judges that are like, like, that's the worst you're gonna get. That's your humiliation.
Nah, b-boy fucking battles were so fucking hilarious to me sometimes, because I remember this time where I just remember everybody had a big dick and they would jizz on somebody's face. That was like the classic battle move.
It's still the thing.
I'm like,
it's
God
still there.
Damn it.
This is the cock.
I just want to come into a fucking battle and just do that and then walk out. And like just fucking win the whole thing.
I'm not gonna lie. I used to have this battle move for internal battles, because we always do internal battles, right? And This is a standard b-boy move. I don't mean to disrespect anyone out there. This is cocking someone. It's a standard b-boy move. Yes. Oftentimes, it's only one-handed to elicit the kind of the nonchalance of being able to be like, haha. And it's always got a curved index and a straightened thumb. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
You see this?
100%.
Sometimes they just walk up to you and they just put this at your mouth. Mm-hmm. And that's the battle move, right?
That's my dick,
well,
bitch.
I figured everybody does this, but ain't nobody out there willing to do this. And this was like my thing. I would always like
realism.
Yeah.
I like that.
I was like, this is where it's at. This is how I handle my shit normally. So it's like, if you want me to show you my cock,
boom, in your face.
And you always get people, no matter what, just looking at your dick for like a second, because it's like, this is it. You feel that?
You know what I would do? I'd go even a step further.
No, don't say it. Don't say it.
I would start battling. I'd start circling around the motherfucker, right? I'd pretend to get lotion.
Here we go.
Squeak, squeak, squeak. Lotion up. Turn on the TV. And I would lay down on the floor. I would have my fucking cell phone in one hand like this. And they're like, yo, what the fuck is this guy doing? And I would just slowly masturbate real quick. I'll look over the shoulder to see if my fiance's awake. And I start masturbating real fast. Look over. People are like, yo, this is a little too realistic.
This This is what dance battles should elevate themselves to. You know what I mean?
I want to see some real pantomime.
People need to know, like, art is supposed to be edgy and it's supposed to trigger people. It's supposed to make people question shit.
Exactly.
And it has to do it at every realm. You can't just have the fucking PC stuff or like the tactful stuff. You got to have the in between. Would I do it? I don't know. But it's important because I guarantee you I would watch it. I would appreciate it. I would respect it. And I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm going to drink some more. But the point is, if everybody was a dancer instead of a fighter, we'd have a very, very lovely world.
Oh, 100% for sure. Except for me, though. I'd probably get banned from dancing, too.
Says the guy who was fucking picking up kickboxing.
Yeah, but kickboxing is different. I like punching people in the face. That's different. Mine, like, no kneecaps. My knees are fucking done. Just from playing basketball as a fat ass. So, like, I used to just play ball at, like, 270 pounds. And you're just doing layups, trying to do these fucking fadeaways.
You know, I had this thing. I don't know why I'm sharing this. Maybe it's because I've been drinking. I had this thing when I was in high school. I sucked at basketball. I love basketball. I've always sucked at it. And when I was in high school, I was, like, in summer league. Mm-hmm. And I just remember I was like this fat kid, but I didn't know I was a fat kid. You know what I'm talking about?
Story of my life,
That's
dude.
what I'm talking about.
I only found out I was fat 2 years ago. Nobody told me. Nobody told me. Everyone's like, dude, you look great. You fucking liars. I was walking around fat as fuck. My fucking doctor had to tell me.
Don't fucking 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
Oh, man. Anyways, I remember there was this one time where there was this other kid. It ended up being one of my greatest friends in high school, but his name is Michael Lee. And I remember one time I didn't like him as a freshman in summer league. And then, we were playing ball. We were talking shit. And there was one day where he called me a fat ass. I was like, what the fuck? You're fatter than me, you fat ass. And he was like, what the fuck? Okay, you're fatter than me. So we get into this high school argument about who's fat and who. Turns out I was the fatter one. And I didn't know.
And your fucking mind was blown, right? You ever had those, it's like that glass shattering moment? You look down at your shirt, you have ketchup stains and cookie crumbs on your stomach.
When you realize that you're the fatter one, it's a life altering event.
I just had this moment where you just started having flashes of you being a really fat person. Can I get a third serving, please? Is that me?
Well, this is back then in junior high in fucking late 90s. You could get a bag of hot Cheetos, cheese, dip sauce, and a soda for $1.25.
Yep. Delicious.
Why the fuck would school kids not be fat? And especially if you was a broke kid, because you had to spend a lot more money to get healthier stuff, which is normal. But so I'm like, to even process what you actually are and then to fucking figure out how to grow from it, that is like a huge, huge thing that human beings got to go through at some point. I feel like everybody's got that, whether it's fatness, ugliness, idiocracy, inadequacy, whatever the fuck it is that people have for themselves. Everybody's got to go through this moment where they have this breakthrough.
At least you found out when you were 13.
14.
14.
You found out when you were like 68.
It fucking took me forever, dude. I was walking around calling other people fat. I'm like, fucking fat fuck.
Oh man, it hurts so bad to think that you're not fat and then to like realize you're the fat one. Anyways,
I was ridiculously fat though, and I had no idea. Like I was huge, and nobody told me.
As a sophomore, I was 5'4", and at the end of my sophomore year, I was 5'10". The same weight the whole time, 154 pounds. I was 5'4" at 154 pounds, and then became 5'10" at 154
I was 154 pounds when I was 3 years old, so I have you beat. I was a solid 154, easy.
I have nothing else to drink to that, so I'm just gonna let you beat me in your absolute fatness. I'm slurring my shit and I'm getting way more drunk, so I don't know where this conversation or this podcast is going. But if you want more
people
random
call
shit,
you're a fucking fat shamer, is what you are, dude. What's wrong with being fat, huh?
I'm a fat shamer only because I had to go through it, and I shamed myself for years.
You know, it's weird with that fat shaming topic because I was a really, really big guy, you know, and I say that I didn't know I was fat, and I'm dead serious. I actually had no idea. But I became like a poster boy for a lot of these young kids who were like, yo, if David's fat, I could be fat too. The thing is, you know you're fat. I didn't. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, I'm chubby. you know, and I assume that, you know, all these French.
Fat is a fat concept, though. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of gray area in here. You
So
know what I'm saying?
I didn't know what fat was, right? But you guys will all know this. Once you start getting a little older, being fat's not fun anymore because you feel it. You start to feel it, and that becomes a problem, right? So, like when I talk about the subject, sometimes people like they kind of muddle the conversation that I'm having with their own personal issues. They go, well, I can be beautiful. I never said you weren't beautiful. Nobody said that. Nobody said you weren't beautiful. Nobody said you're not worth anything. Nobody said that you're less of a human being. You're actually more of a human being. So, just kidding. But you're like, nobody's having that conversation. That's a personal thing that you're dealing with. When I said that I lost weight, it wasn't because I didn't think I was beautiful. I clearly did. I was still trying to hit on women like I was fucking, you know, Daniel Henney up in this bitch. But it didn't change the fact that I was unhealthy. I had trouble sleeping. I had sleep apnea. My fucking knees were killing me. My back was hurting me. These are the things that I couldn't avoid. And a lot of the times with people who are say like, oh, I feel great when I'm fat. And you know what the reason why is? Because the human body is amazing. It's very adaptable. Like, we'll adapt to our pain and our discomfort consistently. The moment you start eating better, you start treating your body better, and you feel something better than what you had before, to go back to that, it's very painful. So even now, like, I fucking love McDonald's, man. Fuck you guys and your McDonald's sponsorship.
Thank you.
But yeah,
Thank you, McDonald's forever.
No, McDonald's, you motherfuckers don't even know.
This is both the M and the love.
So, but I know that if I have my, you know, double quarter pounder and the chicken nuggets tomorrow, most likely I'm gonna have a little diarrhea.
You get diarrhea from McDonald's?
Ever since I lost the weight, like, I've had trouble.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
Like,
that's probably because of your diet in general.
Yeah, I just don't eat a lot of like hardcore processed foods. Like, I don't eat a lot of bread. I don't eat all this shit. You know what I mean? So when I go ham on it, like, mind you, if I had 5 nuggets, a burger, and a small fry, it might be fine. However,
when you go ham on McDonald's, you go ham because it's cheat day.
Exactly.
I go the fuck off.
I get myself a Filet-O-Fish, large fries, 20-piece nuggets, breakfast burrito, a breakfast sandwich, hash browns, a McFlurry, a Diet Coke.
Whoa, that's way more ham than anybody ever heard of. All right.
And if I'm feeling a little, hold on a second. If I'm a fat shamer, if I'm a little cheeky, I'll get a little bit chicken for dessert.
Cheeky is a good word.
Yeah. So this is what happens, right? So it's not McDonald's fault. It's the fact that I choose to abuse it.
Okay.
You know, so I know that when I eat like that, I'm going to have a problem. So ever since I lost that weight and I started feeling better from the weight loss, it's hard for me to go backwards because I just physically feel sick. Like, it sucks. Because I'll see like other people eat fine, and then but if I try to eat their food in the quantity that I enjoy, because it's an addiction for me. Like, food is an addiction. I won't feel as good as they feel, right? So there's no way your boy gonna have a slice of pizza. One pizza, fuck out of here, man.
Nobody has one slice of pizza.
If you do, you're a serial killer.
You do minimum half pizza. You get the wings and the ranch on the side or the breadsticks. You're also drinking a 2-liter for no reason because it's part of the entire ordeal.
So you just gotta fucking pop lock that shit off, and you're good to go.
Don't ever say pop lock.
Pop lock
here,
that
dude.
shit
off.
You know
you fucking herb right now.
No, you pop lock that shit off, bro. You know what I'm saying? You fucking pop lock it off.
Don't pretend to be like fucking no one dancers saying pop lock.
You pop lock, dude.
Don't do this.
You fucking pop lock, dude. This is what I'm saying, dude. See this? He's a fat shamer and also a dance shamer.
The fuck is
this guy? This right here.
Pop lock.
This is, you can't see me, dude. Bro, I'll battle you right now. I'll take you out to lunch, bro.
You take I'll eat lunch.
I just did it right now.
It's dinner time, number 1.
I actually just beat you before we even started.
Beat it off, baby.
See, you start off with a verbal attack, and then it gets worse after that.
Who wants to actually see this full dance right now?
I will fucking put
it in the comments if you want to see him dance.
Let me tell you something.
Eventually,
Let me
in
tell you
this
something,
space, specifically on his channel.
Once I get to my knee surgery,
any of us.
Once I get
kneecaps,
you're done, son.
We'll do sitting battles. We'll do anything that's convenient for him. We'll do battles with McDonald's in front.
I'm telling you something.
Fuck. You can pick the DJ. You can pick the music.
Prize
Let's
is
go
McDonald's.
off, baby.
Let me tell you something. Give me 17 years and I'll fuck your ass up. I'll fuck you up. Give me 17 years to work. I'll drop everything.
What the fuck? 17 Laker wins, by the way.
17. Are you a Lakers fan? Of course you are. Are you a Lakers
Celebrating
fan?
last night. I don't know when this podcast drops, but last night
it's coming out this Thursday.
There it is.
Are you happy as fuck the Lakers won?
I'm fucking happy the Lakers won. During this year, I think of all years, I think I'm
happy because of Kobe, dude.
Absolutely. For Kobe, out of respect, I'm a Lakers fan for sure. I've always been one. It's not about, it's been 10 years. It's not about, LeBron finally did this after 3 franchises. It's not about, of course, those variables exist, but like, in a year of like consistent struggle, every city goes through it. So I don't mean to take anything away from any other city, but like for Kobe, oh man, it was a tough year for the whole world, right? So it's like, I think for the Lakers
Kobe started COVID, dude. He knew what was happening. He was like, I'm out this bitch.
I think for this to happen, you gotta at least respect the poetry of life. There are certain things that are like poetic. You know what I mean?
No, but continue.
Fuck you. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. Don't not be an artist right now. Even stand-up comics are artists. All right? Everybody respects the poetry in life, or at least I would like to think that. And you can't have something so painful for the whole world and the whole culture and then not have it come back around. I see more like Instagram posts with like the conceptual Kobe's angelic arm around LeBron than I've seen just like championship Laker posts. You know what I mean? I when I was out in LA last night by the Staples Center, where there was like illegal fireworks, tear gas, and a bunch of random shit, it was when thousands of people suddenly started chanting Kobe, 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 that it was like, this fool ain't even playing in the championship team right now, but everybody gathers and galvanizes their energy to start chanting Kobe.
Did you cry when Kobe passed away?
Absolutely. I did.
Where were you when you found out?
Oh man, this is a unique thing. This is technically I signed an NDA and I can't actually acknowledge where I was in the uniqueness of what makes this story powerful. Mm-hmm. Even to say that was not the right thing to say. You're gonna have to cut this out.
Okay, well we'll just leave it right there. Well, I mean, you didn't tell anything right there, but you were at a very important part of your life when it happened. Because a lot of people too, when they found out, their whole world stopped. Like when I found out too. First of all, I'm a Sacramento Kings fan, so I'm like fuck Lakers all day.
All day. Kobe, I understand you.
Kobe as an individual though, right? Just having to watch all of his interviews and that Mamba mentality. Nope. I could never hate Kobe as an individual.
It's gold. You
right?
can't.
He was like our generation's Jordan. So for Kobe to just up and pass away like that out of nowhere, but when I found out, I thought it was a joke. Specifically, well, I cracked up at this one part when they said that what's his name? Fucking I'm about to say Rick Ross. Fucking what's his name? Handsome motherfucker on the Lakers during that time. Oh my god, my fucking geometry teacher loved this motherfucker.
During what time? During their championship season with Kobe and Shaq era?
Yes.
Like Robert Horry, Glenn Rice, Nick Van Axel.
Curly hair.
Light-skinned
black dude.
Light-skinned black dude, curly hair. There's a lot of those.
You're like, come on, dude. Rick Fox.
There you go. Yeah, with Vanessa. Yeah.
So Rick Fox, they said that, I think they said either Robert Horry or Rick Fox died too. And I don't know why somebody just put that shit.
Oh, that's right. It was like Robert Horry, I think. It was one of the, it was one of those, yeah.
Why the fuck? Who the fucking asshole said like, Robert Horry died too? And everybody's like, Robert Horry's dead. And then Robert Horry's like, I'm still here. What the fuck are you guys talking about?
But he was suddenly hella relevant. Yeah. His jersey sales were going up through the roof.
I was like, the fucking asshole put that shit out. But I thought it was a practical joke. I thought it was a joke. I was like, there's no way fucking Kobe died. Are you fucking nuts? And then he died, and then his daughter died too. Such a terrible moment.
The day that we found out Kobe died was actually the 10-year anniversary celebration banquet of the Kinjaz. Ooh. So I had just come back from China from working on like a music video for it was Jackson Wang at the time, his 100 Ways music video.
Handsome man.
And we had just come home, so we were about to do this 10-year anniversary banquet since Honorable Black Ops in 2010, the very first time Kinjaz got together. It's 2020 now, so we wanted to do it on the same day that Vibe was thrown 10 years previous, right? Everybody finds out Kobe dies. I shit you not, when everybody shows up to the banquet that evening, because we found in the morning, when everybody shows up to the banquet, nobody talks to each other. It's really awkward. People are trickling and nobody's really talking. So the only thing people know how to do is drink. So everyone literally takes maybe like in silence 3, 4, 5 rounds of just like toasts of like this weird like. Hey, cheers! Hey, cheers!
Yeah.
Finally, people get drunk so they can like let go and let loose and try to enjoy the idea that we're supposed to celebrate life. But even then, every speech that night at this banquet, somebody's somehow mentioning in the light of Kobe or in the darkness of this or, you know, whatever. And it was just, I hadn't felt this kind of energy since Michael Jackson died. You remember when MJ died?
Yes, I do, because I was pissed because I bought a ticket to see this motherfucker perform at his last fucking tour, and he died
In the O Theater yeah.
and he died, and I'm like, the fuck? I'm like,
This is it.
Yeah.
You bought tickets for This Is It?
Me and my buddy Gabo, big Michael Jackson fans, and so we
Shit.
were.
That would have been a dream to watch.
It was a lot because I was too broke and young to go see him. So now, you know, a little older, I was like, oh, I could afford this shit. I'm gonna go see this dude. Passes away. I'm like, fuck. We both like, fuck.
I feel like, to me personally, when Kobe died, when MJ died, and when Kobe died, and when 9/11 happened.
Oh, that's right, 9/11.
Those are 3 things
Damn,
that
you compare Kobe Bryant to 9/11.
I do for
That's
LA.
amazing.
Absolutely, I do, because those are 3 instances when I will always remember where I was, what I was doing, what I was wearing, how I felt, where I was in my life. All of that, I'll know all of those things on only those specific moments.
What were you wearing the time Kobe died?
I was wearing. Actually, I think I was wearing these pants. That's great.
These are your Kobe pants from now on.
These are my Kobe pants.
They're called Mamba Blacks. Mamba Blacks. Mambas.
Mom blacks.
Ma Blacks.
My mom is black.
These
These are my mama's black shoes.
These are your mama's black shoes. Bet this motherfucker
Pants.
be drinking, dog. He just straight up call his pants shoes. He literally grabbed the fabric of his pants and he called them shoes.
This shirt right here. It's my mama's shirt.
Shit. Oh, my side hurts, bro. Oh, shit. That's what I said. He's grabbed the fabric. He said, these shoes. Oh, shit. Oh.
Just make it worse. Just pour me some more.
Okay.
Just make the whole podcast worse.
This is why.
Oh,
Oh, that shit was too funny. Took a very serious moment. these shoes.
these fucking shoes right
These
here.
shoes that I have.
Oh man.
Oh man. But yeah, Kobe won.
Cheers, fucker.
When Kobe passed away. It's weird when you have these people who kind of leave these huge stamps on in your life or just people in general. It actually helps me refocus why I do the things that I do. So it's like, isn't it interesting? Like when Chadwick Boseman passed away.
Oh,
That shit fucking wrecked me, man. It wrecked me because of when the stories where he was doing interviews while he had cancer. He shot like 3 or 4 films while
I think, yeah.
while he had cancer. He was helping other kids who were terminally ill patients without telling them that he was also terminally ill, and helping them go along with their journeys knowing that they're going to pass away. And when you look at a human being like that, it's like, oh shit, it really helps you refocus why you continue to do what you do. It helped me get out of my personal ruts that I deal with. So it's like I get to look back at these heroes and look at what they do and make sure, and it helps me kind of put my life back on track. That's so important though. I think when people talk about, why you do things, I think I probably would never be as obsessive as Kobe Bryant is, right? Because Kobe Bryant is an obsessive human being.
Yeah, he is.
Right? I don't think I would ever go to that, but it also helps me feel better in the things that I'm doing because I'm like, oh, I'm not chasing the almighty dollar. I'm chasing stuff that makes me happy to make sure that I leave a proper stamp in this world, whether it's with this podcast or just, comedy in general. It really did help me to refocus my life. And it sucks that somebody has to pass away for that to happen, you know?
Well, it probably is natural, right? That's probably just how everyone before us who did something substantial with their life also evolved as a human being, right?
Yeah.
Some sort of amazing gain and tragic loss.
Yeah.
That defined those experiences. And you know, it's how old are you right now?
I'm 32.
I'm 34 right now. So me and you are entering the generational age gap where everyone's getting fucking married or
Kids.
having children
Yep.
or dying.
Yeah.
Straight up. Which are, I would like to think, the three most intense human experiences that our society has given us.
Yeah.
Getting fucking married, having a child, or death, which is inevitable.
Losing your virginity is another one.
Not in our well, hopefully not in our generation.
For some people out there, losing their virginity.
Okay.
I'm still a virgin.
I think if you're in your... Okay.
I swear to God. I'm still actually, I don't swear to God. That's a lie. I'm a virgin.
You're a virgin?
No.
You're a virgin. Please don't.
Yes,
you don't
I'm
have
a
to
virgin.
lie. You don't
I
have
want
to
somebody
lie,
to take my seed.
I just want you to know that you're a virgin. There's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Unless you're 32 and you have a fiance.
But point is, we're entering that space where every fucking week somebody's getting married or having a kid or passing away.
Yeah.
Right? Or you know somebody who knows somebody who's passing away. So it's like the second you get into that, I feel like, kind of gap in your life, all the little shit really becomes little shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, once you know and once you experience that, it shifts your entire perception. So in the way that you're talking about how like experiencing someone's death is the catalyst that helps you redefine some sort of identity clause or purpose or whatever the fuck, I just feel like that's like where we're at in our life right now. And for anybody else who's in that same kind of adulting space or generation, what the fuck are we? X? Y?
I think we're
millennials? I don't know.
Yeah, we're millennials. We're millennials.
Whatever the fuck that people want to hate on us for, whatever generation that is, I just think it's really, really important to really come to terms and recognize the power and respect the power at which our life experiences are about to shape us versus get like drowned by them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When they happen. So like just in general, that's the exact reason why, like, at the end of the day, I'm here. I'm happy to be on this fucking podcast just talking about whatever the fuck is important to us, because 10 years ago, I think the content that guys like me and you were like really hype and eager to talk about, or the things that we were trying to like express ourselves with, is very different from the maturity of the don't give a fuck attitude that we may have in today's episode.
Yeah, especially as a younger person, I didn't have enough wisdom to talk about shit. I didn't have enough life experience.
But we still did, with naivety and ignorance.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I could
You know what I'm saying?
I could only put it in the perspective of what somebody went through at my age, or
up to our age,
up to our age,
of experience,
which was very limited. You know,
which was so limited compared to everything else that we've probably encountered in the last like 6 months of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like if I could ask you this then, so what is something that you do now that's an improvement of what you did when you were younger?
To be completely honest with you, and today, like right now, that the second you bring that up, the first thing that actually comes to my mind is acknowledging my wrongs. Because before, I think that it wasn't so easy for me to be like, oh, I made a mistake on this, let me fix it. Before, I'd be like, oh, I made this decision, it didn't work out right, but it was sensible because, and my ego would get involved because I thought that everything that I was doing was just like righteous because of the cause of the moment, the idealism. And today, I think as an older human being, I've been able to recognize like, oh, I just didn't know better, so this was not right. Being wrong isn't like, oh, I'm a terrible human being. I was just wrong. You know what I mean? Whether it might be based off of things like civil rights issues, to gender issues, to sexuality issues, things that I was just like ignorant to, or just not perceptive of, or not open to. at those times, I'd be like, oh shit, yeah, like, yeah, I didn't understand. I was a little naive. Therefore, here's my learning curve. Now, as a person who's experiencing, honestly, like crazier hardships, it's a lot easier for me to be like, I apologize. I made a mistake. I need to unlearn what I understand, and I need to relearn the right way to do things. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It
like when you
doesn't.
were younger, you were talking about you not wanting to do dancing because you thought it was, quote unquote gay, which was the hot word at the time. It's like,
Yeah,
what
totally.
a stupid concept. How dumb is that?
And you know what? I was also afraid to admit that maybe like 5-6 years ago. And today I can openly say that, not because I'm trying to offend anyone who's gay, but because I have to like be honest with how ignorant and naive I was.
Yeah.
And to respect people today, I have to acknowledge my naivety. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think that those are very different like understandings based off of the wisdom of age. It has nothing to do with like, I'm a great person or not. It's like, oh, like I'm learned because I'm older. People have taught me. People have shown me better ways. You know what I'm saying? So
for me, definitely, I think the thing for me is I've learned to be a lot more empathetic. I grew up just zero empathy. Like I could give a fuck less about what somebody else was going through because I was going through so much, right?
Yeah.
I think that happens a lot with people who kind of grew up with brokenness and being poor. Like you're so worried about like your next meal, what's going to happen the next day. The last thing you care about is what somebody else goes through.
Totally.
But
or you were only focusing on what other people had and you didn't.
Yeah. So
Totally.
now I've learned, because like empathy has helped me out. So I actually found this concept through therapy. So it's like, because not everything is, I used to be a very black and white person, right? It probably just because I grew up in a very religious household, it didn't allow me to see the layers within people, right? So if somebody would wrong me, I would just say, that is wrong. When I see you outside, I'm gonna stab you.
Totally. You would not think about like, why did that person do that?
Yeah.
What are they going through?
And the weird thing is that what I found out was that having the ability to empathize with somebody isn't making excuses for them. It's actually allowing you to deal and manage your emotions, right? Because when you start to understand where somebody comes from, they don't have that control over you now. So it's like, okay, like for example, it's hard for a lot of young people when I see a lot of like Asian activism going on, right? And I enjoy some of it. The other stuff, I think people are being ridiculous. For example, there was a post that somebody put up. It was like, it was on Facebook. They wrote this whole thing where it's like this 80-year-old guy came up to me and, he was trying to have a conversation. He started the conversation with like, hey, like what are some good Chinese restaurants? He's like, oh, do you think you could just ask me about Chinese restaurants because blah, blah. And I actually had this similar situation. However, how that person took it and how I took it was two different things. And when I was asking this person, who was a friend of mine, and then I kind of wrote on the thing, I was like, well, what was that person's intent? Was that person's intent to make fun of your culture? Or was that person a fucking 80-year-old man who grew up in a different generation than you and he wanted to create small talk because he enjoyed your presence? There's two different ways that you could see this. His intent 100% from what you wrote, this is what you wrote, was for him just to talk to you and have a conversation. But he did it in the way that he thought was okay. However, you took it as him saying a racist thing towards you and you basically cursed this dude out. So how did that open up a conversation for him to want to know you better as a human being? You actually did a disservice without even knowing it because you lacked empathy. You didn't care enough to say, why is this person asking me this question? Did this person ask me this question because he knew better and he chose to ignore it? Or did he not know any better and he thought that it would have been a good segue for a conversation with you? So that's where sometimes like I feel like people don't understand how great empathy is as a tool. It helps you navigate through these awkward situations.
I mean, you gotta have a wisdom and a life experience to like be able to perceive that. And I think that in time, people will understand that.
Hopefully,
that's not necessarily like like everybody finds their understanding of empathy in their own way, whether it's by direct schooling of like a mentor figure or it's by just experience of life in ways that they have wronged someone. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's the true power of empathy.
Yeah, you just like those, it just makes your life so much easier. Like understanding somebody else's situation, it's because nobody ends up a piece of shit just because they're a piece of shit. There's always something.
I gotta pee.
Go pee.
And I'm drunk, but I like this conversation. How do I do that? Do I pee and come back?
Pee and come back.
Man, fuck this podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by Junbi Matcha. Not all matcha is curated and created the same, and Junbi Matcha stands out above the rest. If your matcha isn't a beautiful shade of jade green and doesn't have an earthy, smooth taste, then you're definitely not having Junbi. Matcha is not supposed to be bitter. The caffeine boost and health benefits you get from it are the best. No caffeine jitters and loaded with antioxidants. To get 10% off your first order of tins and packets, go to junbishop.com. That's JUNBI shop.com and enter code GeniusBrain to get 10% off your first order today. Get that matcha on, baby.
Okay, I don't know where the flow of this podcast is, but I'm having a good ass time. So I could give a fuck and I could drink some more, but I really don't know where you're at. I don't even know if it's still recording.
It's still going.
I went out to take a piss, and when I finished taking a piss, I didn't take my phone, but there's another door that blocks the bathroom from this like hallway of offices, so I was stuck out there.
So I'm just sitting here, and all I hear is boom, 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 boom. I'm like, man, there's some really loud people out there. I'm just surfing through my fucking phone.
I was already at the point, because I didn't have my phone, I had to come to the realization and acceptance that I might be here for a long time. Until David figures it out. So I was about to start turning to knock on other offices to see if they had a key to let me in. Everybody was fucking closed. Everybody's office is gone. And I was like, oh shit.
Everybody in this space leaves at like 5 p.m.
I was genuinely I'm a drunk dude by myself in this hallway.
I should have just waited to see what was happening. I just see you outside just working on some choreo in the hallway. Like, yo, this motherfucker working on some choreo right now.
I'm gonna get more drunk.
Cheers.
How do you do podcasts like this? You got no structure. You just get people in here. You just drink.
That's exactly what happens.
Fuck this. I don't even know how long we've been going.
We've been going for quite a while. Usually, I mean, first guests, usually we go a little longer than normal because we have so much to catch up on. You know? I don't remember what the fuck we're talking about. We're talking about some.
It was deep. It was deep shit. We've been talking about a lot of deep shit.
I swear to God, it was.
But
really
on the
deep.
very last deep topic, the only thing I could think about was how much I needed to piss. Fuck. This is my water. I'm gonna take it.
Yes, it is.
I don't give a fuck right now. What do you?
That's what I got. So in the previous podcast area, it was like a super, super small room. I couldn't fit a bar cart. So like I didn't have much space for alcohol. So I got this fucking bar cart and I stocked it the fuck out.
I'm buzzed. I'll talk shit right now. You can ask me anything. I'll fucking confess shit.
All right, perfect.
I'm just kidding. This is like the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Like that's where it ends.
No, this is where it continues. No. But I do want to say this. You guys are actually coming out with a fucking instant noodle, which is nuts.
To be legal, we can't call it instant. The reason why, let me explain this officially. Instant noodle is already cooked. Which is why, remember when you were a kid, you would eat instant noodle or whatever, you would break off, before you even cook it with water, you would just like crunch on it like chips.
Yeah.
You can't do that with this because it's technically raw because it's air dried and not fried.
Oh, well, you guys is the healthy shit, right?
It's a healthier shit.
Ooh.
So 100% plant-based, air dried, never fried, no preservatives. And it's
no preservatives.
It's fucking spicy if you put the whole spicy sauce on it. So if you don't want spicy, if you want just regular noodles, you don't have to put any of that.
Kinjaz sauce?
And it's just spicy sauce. Maybe we should rename it.
Fucking
Well, it's
marketing
Kinjaz noodles, so I don't know how to call it Kinjaz
You call it bang sauce, dude.
Bang
That's
sauce.
Bang sauce, and then you bottle the sauce up, man.
Because it's banging.
Yeah, no, because it's spicy. You call it bang sauce, and then people buy it. You gotta work on your marketing, guy.
Off camera, I'll explain the logistics and legalities on why it can't be called that, but it's okay. For now, yes, we will work on our marketing.
What made you guys get into noodles? That's so random.
Oh, man. 1, yes, it's random. 2, if you hella know us, there's a thread that makes it not random. Does that make sense? So I was in 2010, 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago, 9 years ago, 2010, 2011, I was working as a marketing director for a street clothing brand called Collusive.
Oh, okay.
You remember this?
Yeah.
They're super popular with like huge graphics, foil prints, was in every Metro Park.
Yeah.
Before Metro Park filed Chapter 11 and went bankrupt and shit. Yeah. 50 Cent was wearing our shit. It was on a bunch of skaters. It was on a bunch of dancers everywhere wearing Collusive. It just became this like huge brand that we like really infiltrated the dance market with. And from there, shit happened. and I stopped working because like the brand went into like a different direction. I wanted to pick up dance and wanted to like try what it meant to be a dancer. Mike Song was on Comp Modern, and he had just gone through ABDC, so he was like now traveling the world and teaching. It was a very unique time where like dance was suddenly like, are you saying you're traveling and teaching under your own name? You're not like the choreographer of like Janet Jackson or performer for like this huge artist. You were just Mike Song, or you were just Comp Modern. So like this whole era of like just the prominence of dance started kind of erupting. And fast forward 10 years, my old boss from Collusive, who we always stayed in touch with, like we were just always like connected. We were always friends. He's like a bigger brother and a mentor to both myself and Mike Song in a lot of business stuff and life things in general. And we were always like, we got to figure out how to do business together. Nothing happened for like a decade. And finally, we got back together at a time where he was focusing on food industry. So he had just migrated from street clothing industry to fucking food. It's a very, very unique transition.
Yeah.
And it took him a couple years to figure it out and start smashing the food industry. That's as vague as I'm allowed to be right now, but like he created a number of products that entered a number of stores that did very, very well. And suddenly we had a companion who is versed in the food realm, something that like as a dance brand, there's no fucking way we would have ever had an entry point.
Yeah.
So, but because I had worked with him and he and the clothing company Collusive had originally sponsored Mike Song as a dancer, we were always just this like trifecta of friends that were like, one day we'll do business together. Fast forward, we're fucking drunk, naturally, sitting at some bar somewhere in the Arts District, trying to figure out, we're like, oh yeah, maybe we should do business together, blah, blah, blah. I remember I'm about to leave the meeting, right? And then they're like, yo, what about this idea? So then I end up canceling my other shit. We go to another bar. We keep talking. Next thing you know, we're trying to figure out what's the most right thing for us to do. All of us fucking love noodles. Mike is a huge ramen guy. I'm a huge pho guy. Granted, I ate pho like every week growing up as like a culturally Chinese Vietnamese kid, but I fucking love pho. Do you love pho?
You're Chinese Vietnamese? Like Chu Chow?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you know that?
So Sacramento has a huge Vietnamese community.
Absolutely, they do.
So I grew up around Vietnamese people my whole life.
Same with San Jose. San Jose has a bigger community than Sacramento, actually. Yeah.
I'm Vietnamese food all day, dude. Button sale all day. That's my shit.
Bun sale all day. So point is, I fucking love Vietnamese food and pho. Yeah. So we just started talking about noodles.
Yeah.
And then for him to even create the food products that he had created in the past, it was always an inspiration point. It's like, where do we go? And then how do we create that? So he had like a Michelin star chef on deck that created his previous food products. And he was like, all right, let's start making this thing. So naturally, we got guys like Twinjas from fucking SAG, actually, who are on the team, and they're vegans. And we have a number of vegans on the team in general. So we're like, if we're going to make some, we got to make something plant-based. Normally, noodles in general are plant-based, right? Like egg, rice, I guess you can consider it's all plant-based. But when it comes down to it, like every fucking noodle on the market is like chicken noodle, beef noodle, shrimp noodle, blah, blah, blah noodle, right? So we're like, all right, let's just keep it plant. Unless you want to add like these crazy spicy stuff, but let's just keep it plant-based because it makes sense for our brand. But at the end of the day, instead of just making another noodle, let's try to innovate it. Let's try to change it up. What do we want to do with noodles? Number one, we're like, let's make it a rice substitute. That was weird, but it was huge. Because we're like, instead of just making noodles that you could eat, let's make it noodles that you can eat with whatever the fuck you want to eat instead of rice. Number two, we were like, let's make it healthy and plant-based because we're like a dance athletic brand. So it's got to make sense. And let's make it soupless. So it's just different from everything else out there. All right. That shit started to hit in a way within our internal community that like really motivated us to be like, all right, this is the way we're going to do it. We packaged it all together. We called it Kinjaz Memories Noodles. It was originally called something else. But I remember being on my anniversary holiday honeymoon type situation. Not honeymoon, sorry. Let me rephrase that. Holiday trip with my girl. And I remember getting a call from Alex, my partner for Kinjaz Noodles, and he was like, yo, what should we call it? Blah, blah, blah. There's legal issues with this, blah, blah, blah. And we were like, yo, let's call it Kinjaz Noodles because everybody knows Kinjaz. We got a song to Kinjaz. We always say Kinjaz, and it just makes sense to call this thing Kinjaz Noodles because it's going to be banging. It was some basic, like, fun shit. And then we put this thing together, and I swear to God, when we tasted it, I expected way worse. I was like, this is my first time trying to make food. I expected to be an Asian influencer in, Southern California trying to do some shit.
Yeah.
I kid you not, this shit is banging. It's fucking good.
I'm gonna get a box of this shit. It better be fucking good.
I'm gonna send you a whole box, and I'm gonna tell you, David, if it's not good, I want you to roast me on your channel. I shit you not. If it's not good.
Well, you're kind of lucky. It's very rare that I dislike any type of noodle package anything.
Okay, fine. Who's a harsh critic to you? Are your parents harsh critics? Well,
the thing about I know it's not an instant noodle, but packaged noodle stuff. There's always stuff that's meh, and
I want you to fucking find me a harsh critic, and I want you to give them my noodles.
Well, anybody who is a harsh critic of fucking instant noodles is a fucking dweeb. All right.
These are instant noodles. I just need an actual harsh critic. You and Tim do fucking food shit all the time.
Here we go. Let me try this right here.
I want you and Tim to try it, and I want you to not be fucking friends with me during that time. I'm gonna talk shit about your fucking parents. I'm gonna talk shit about your upbringing. I'm talking shit about how you're fucking not a stand-up comic.
I'm like you and everybody else in this world.
I'm like, you're a YouTuber. You're not a stand-up comic. And then I want you to try our noodles.
I'm okay with being a YouTuber now. Back then I wasn't.
I want to fat shame you. Point is, I want to give you every reason to dislike it.
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be good.
And then I want you to try it. Because I shit you not, we've gone fucking around the block with this thing, and I think.
Are you plant-based too?
No, I was. I went both vegan and vegetarian for a portion of my life. Vegan was hard as fuck.
Yeah, it's very limited. Yeah.
For me particularly, it was really, really difficult because I had to go to China all the time. And in China,
they eat
everything. Can ask for vegetables and they'll cook it in pork oil.
Yeah. Yeah, you're fucked.
You're like, the only way that you can get them to understand vegetarian is not for you to tell them that you're vegetarian or vegan.
Tell them you're a Buddhist monk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to tell them you're a Buddhist monk. Then they will not put bacon bits on your cabbage.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
You know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Everything is cooked in even their meat oils.
Some type of lard.
You have to tell them you're a vegetarian style Buddhist monk for them to understand that meat is not the thing you need to put with it. But point is, we went around the block to create this thing.
I'm so curious. Just to let you know, I eat some type of packaged noodle at least 3 times a week. And it's been like that since ever.
That's why it's more important to me that you fucking moderate your expectations and hate on this bitch early game.
Like, that's how often I eat
I want you to hate on Kinjaz noodles early game.
If you go to a Korean supermarket, I guarantee you I've at least tried at least 80% of the
What's your favorite instant noodle?
So as of right now, there's a new runner-up. This is kamjatang one. This is Korean kamjatang. Yeah, so kamjatang is this Korean pork rib stew.
That's very unique.
And they made a ramen version of it. It's also this other one. It's this...
Which, by the way, Korean... soups are my favorite soups in the world.
Feeds the soul.
The best in the world.
And this other one called this jampong ramen, which is like a Chinese Korean influenced dish. It's a spicy noodle soup. They made an instant noodle version of it from Nongshim. Super good. Those are my 2 top as of right now. Classic ones, Doguri and Shinramen Black are my other 2 favorites.
Oh, Shinramen Black.
Mm-hmm. And then you can't beat the classic the Japanese one, the not Nishinro, not Maruchan. Oh my god, I'm fucking forget. I eat this shit every fucking week. It's because I'm drunk. Not Nishinro.
I'm hella drunk.
Not Maruchan. What's the Japanese one? The one that's in a red and white packet.
red and white Japanese.
It's the classic one. It just says chicken.
No, Asha is Taiwanese. Therefore, it's not Nongshim. Is that Samyang?
No, not samyang. Samyang's whatever.
I enjoy Samyang.
People love samyang. Samyang. If you get Shin Ramyun Black, samyang's whatever. It's like,
but it's still good. Their noodles are like hella thick. It's anyways.
Noguri. If you like thick noodles, get Noguri. Noguri is the best one.
Noguri is good too.
Yeah, and there's also Jabbawockeez that's thrown in there too. Jabbawockeez is really good.
Which one are you talking about?
Just the regular old plain Japanese one. It's like Maruchan.
But it's not Maruchan though.
But it's the Japanese one.
Yeah, I feel like I know what you're talking about, but it's not that. I feel like I can see it, but I can't.
I eat it every week. But Indomie mee goreng is also one of my top favorites. That's like my favorite dry noodle one. So if you can compete with the Indomie mee goreng,
okay, that's the one. That's what I want you to compare it to.
That's gonna be a hard one.
Good.
That's how confident you are?
That's how confident I am in a product that's going to hit the market that you haven't tried before. That's how confident I am in a new product. How confident I am in a non-established product, it's hard to say. It hasn't hit the market yet. So I don't want to be that guy who sits here eating my words. But you know fucking confident in what we made because it's fucking good, man.
Well, at the end of the day, when it comes to food, I think what most people forget is that you have to really enjoy it first. So if it's a product that you really enjoy, we'll see.
Texture, taste, and health. David, if you don't like it, I want you to fucking fat shame me for the rest of my life.
But you're not even fat anymore.
I'll get fat. I'll get fat eating my noodles for you.
I would love for you to be fat. I think you, as a fat person, would look so stupid. I think you would carry your weight terribly, dude. I think you would look like hot trash. That's like... there's like certain people that look good fat. You would not be one of them, dude. You got such a minimal forehead space. As a fat person, you would look ridiculous.
Oh, I'm thinking about my depressed years of my fatness.
If I didn't feel the negative repercussions of being overweight, I probably still would be fat. But it turns out being healthier makes you feel better. Yeah, I definitely got some interesting conversations from people like DMs of like, there's nothing wrong with being fat. Like, I'm like, no, I guess, but health wise, there's a lot of issues.
There's a lot of things wrong with being fat.
Like health wise, if we're just talking about health, yeah, for sure.
To be fair, really fat people are pleasing in a different aesthetic way. It's just a matter of health that becomes an issue at that point.
Yeah, like I
enjoy watching fat people do stuff. Is that weird? We need to stop this podcast.
Like eating.
I've been drinking too much. We're gonna stop this podcast right here. Subscribe to David So Genius Brain Podcast. I'm giving it an outro so I can save and protect myself. I don't give a fuck. Subscribe. David So's is shit. End it right here. Period. Boom.
This whole last section. What Anthony is trying to say is that him being in the industry, he realized that there's a bias towards people who are quote unquote skinnier, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're fucking fit. That's all that he's saying. We're going to end it like that. You can find Anthony at where on Instagram? Where on Instagram can they find you?
Just follow at Kinjaz. Or at _Anthony Lee _, where we say everything that's very politically correct and we never cross the lines or boundaries of anything offensive.
Because this man is the nicest human being I've ever met in my life.
I don't fat shame anyone. And David is a perfectly healthy, fine gentleman that I've...
This was straight up call me fat. I'll tell you something. You can live a day in a fat world.
You
look so
can't
weird.
fucking have a podcast where you fucking get people drunk and then not expect shit that doesn't make any sense. This is like unfair to the...
Enjoy Kinjaz Bang Noodle. It's going to be coming out. Make sure that you cop that. I haven't tasted it yet, but because he endorses it, I know it's going to be fucking
I'm telling you
delicious.
right now, if he doesn't like it, unsubscribe to him.
Why?
If he doesn't like the noodles, unsubscribe to his channel.
If you guys don't like Kinjaz Bang Noodle, fucking unsubscribe to David So Comedy.
Yeah, there it
all
is.
right. But we'll see you all next time. Follow Kinjaz, follow everything else. Hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Every Sundays and Thursdays, you guys will see this podcast up. I love you very much. And I've made love to your mother at least once before. Goodbye.